Hi everyone, I'm Carolyn and I offer channeled messages and intuitive information for those of you going through spiritual awakening or the ascension process. And today I'm so excited about what came through for this week's message. It's all about signs and messages that you get during spiritual awakening. So I have a lot to say about that and some advice, but I'm going to read the channel to you first of all, and then we're going to get into the interpretation, and then you'll get to take it away and consider it yourself. All right, here we go. Might you know the animals of old, those who the ancients relied on, those who charted a path for their taking, the wisdom of the owl, the eyes of the hawk, those who have knowledge in their animal essence that the ancients learned from, lived with, and who foretold the future. For signs abound in nature, for you as well. It is not just the ancients who have access, for nature is still there, in plenty for you to discover. The bee in its hive, the alligator in its fury, there are signs all around you. The small animals, the birds of feather, the insects that abound. Do not think that you are not here for you, to help you along your journey, and interpret for you signs and messages, and be signs and messages for you. But in today's world, it is often that humankind misses these opportunities to understand that the flock of birds flying by have meaning, that the clouds above have signs and messages, that the deer in the woods and the brown dark eyes have knowing for you to access. Watch, seek, do not just pass by them. Watch the wildness in them and watch for their patterns are what will help you in your own journey to understand the signs and messages that you were given. For just as the ancients did, they watched for signs from above, from the land, from the sea, winged creatures, all, and made decisions in their day based on these creatures. They worked in one with them, in unison. The stars and the moon are here for you as well. Make use of the important times of our moon and star cycles and patterns, for they have power in them for you to use in your journey, if you'll only pay attention. There is so much power available to you during this awakening. It is there for all humankind, but you, dear ones who are awakening, have a greater understanding of these offerings, but you still must be aware so that you may make full use of them as offered to you. Be aware, pay attention, and be mindful of all that is around you. The wild creatures of the earth are here for you as companions and messengers. The stars and moon are here for the taking. We ask that you work toward a greater understanding of how this beauty provided to you in your planet may be of use. In light and love forevermore, the LightKeepers. So I thought this was really profound, and it very much speaks to my journey. And I think many of you have had the same thing happen, and if you haven't, you certainly will, I believe. So let's just decipher this, and I'll tell you a little bit about my journey, and then we'll take it away from there. So in essence, this is really about kind of waking up to not just, moving down our path so busily during the course of the day, but being able to see nature in all its glory as messengers, animals, insects, birds, planets, everything. And they're here for our understanding and our use. And as we awaken, and this is key, all of a sudden, you're going to start seeing these signs. Now, the key is, and this is what happened with me, as I started rampantly getting signs and messages, thinking, why are these coming into my awareness? I started realizing I need to write this stuff down. Otherwise, it just comes and goes. And it can lose its meaning. And you can forget you even saw them. So the power for this for me, when I started realizing that the cardinal that I saw more than anything outside my window that was a blaze of red and nothing else was that colorful meant something. So that the encounter I had, honestly, with a colony of ants that I couldn't even imagine happening, there was something going on there. That the 3 crows that are showing up around my house all the time now and basically seem to be living with me are here for a reason and offering me messages. If I hadn't written any of this down and gone back and kind of put these pieces together, I would not have understood it. One sign, one message in and of itself can be something, but there's also patterns to what you're going to receive. So what I did very early in my journey, This would be literally a month after my dark night of the soul, when the one I loved so much passed away from brain cancer. He started appearing to me, and I started understanding that he was still with me. But then the other signs and messages started to come. So what I did was I went, and I had an extra room in my house, so I was fortunate for that I hadn't done anything with. I took all the walls, and I used it as kind of a poster board area. I went and bought those huge, big 3M stickies, and I used them, and I put them on my wall, and then I went and bought the colored stickies. My background's in business, many, many years in business, and having to create and build processes for teams and businesses. And I used that process to use my color stickies and all of my signs and messages, and I would categorize them. And I would take them from the journal, my dated journal, and then I would put them on my what I called my whiteboard, which were my walls of big, huge 3M stickies with the colored stickies. And then I would categorize all of my messages, and I would go in and I would stand there over the course of time. And this was over the course of a year I did this. My room was filled with colored stickies, signs and messages that I would then go in and look. And I started to be able to tell my story and what my story was trying to tell me, what I was trying to tell myself about my path and my journey. And I can't begin to tell you, I would not be here today if I had not done that, because I wouldn't have been able to understand what those messages meant. And again, I'm talking about the patterns of those messages and then how they interrelated with each other, because we're all getting them. The thing is, we get them one at a time, and then we go on our way. So I'm saying to you today, my greatest advice to you, and again, we're not finished with the channel, but my greatest advice to you is first start your journal of your signs and messages. Write them down. And maybe you want to do this at the end of the day. You know, what happened to me today that I want to know? Make a note, make a note, make a note. Because you're going to be able to go back to it. I typed it all up because I wanted to be able to have it. I now have 170 pages of signs and messages. That was over my first year and a half. You'll have it too. I could near guarantee you. And then you can take that and you can actually go ahead, and I highly recommend this, is chart it out. How many animal messages have you gotten? Or like for me, doves were a huge sign, and they came at certain times and they meant certain things. And cloud formations, I received cloud formations that were extraordinary. And numbers, a lot of us get numbers regularly, but as you start getting the numbers, which are typically the first thing you'll get ready, because you're going to get other things coming your way. So start documenting that and noting. So I guess I made my point about journaling and starting to create that bigger picture view. Now, I will say one thing. When you start getting these signs and messages, well, pretty soon I was wanting them all the time. And so I'd have all these expectations of, okay, what am I going to get today? And I'd be looking feverishly and kind of trying to make stuff up. And I realized that felt weird. That didn't feel right. Those signs and messages come when you don't have any expectations at all. And then your higher self somehow, honestly, I think magically directs you to those signs and messages. And that's when you're going to get them. So set all expectations aside, even though you'll get really excited about getting signs and messages, and you'll continue to get them all throughout your journey. I will say one thing about signs and messages, at least in my experience, and I think this is a fairly common experience, and particularly since my dark night of the soul, or my awakening really truly hit in essence after I had a loved one pass away. He was here with me a lot, giving me a lot of signs and messages, and then I was receiving them in general. Once it's understood that you get it, that you know you're on your path and you're further along in your journey, pretty soon those are going to subside. They're not going to be the wild blast-off kind of messages necessarily that you got maybe all the time. So don't get concerned or upset about that if you're at that part of your journey where all of a sudden you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I've been left behind. No, that's part of the process. Because guess what? You're starting to trust yourself more. I still have these doubts where I sit and I think, oh, please just send me signs and messages and all those amazing things I used to get, all those cloud formations. And I mean, is it not enough that I have the crows showing up, right? And so anyway, but I used to get like half a dozen big messages a day for a long time. But again, I was very aware of them and understood that it was happening. And I think that's the first thing, is awareness that you're going to receive signs and messages. Secondarily, document, keep a journal. Doesn't have to be anything elaborate, but just get it there so that when you're ready maybe to start doing the patterns, you'll have it available. Because if you don't do it, you'll never remember all of them. And then thirdly, set all expectations aside. Don't go out looking for your next sign and message, because it's not going to come. So this was the most exciting part of my journey, still continues to be, to know that nature all around us, the sun, the moon, the stars, some of you are more drawn to maybe the planets and the moon and just what's happening in the sky. Some of you may be more drawn to animals and nature, and taking walks and getting out in nature is where you will get a lot of signs and messages. And again, go out and just do it because you want to do it, not because you're going to go take a walk to get a sign and message. But I think you'll be surprised, because it is honestly is the most powerful part of my journey, being able to know that we're not alone. Even if you maybe haven't connected with that many people in this journey, you're not alone. You have more help than you can imagine, and you're getting signs and messages all the time. So this is the magical exploration of the spiritual awakening journey that I really don't want you to miss. And I think I have a really wonderful recipe for being able to make the most of the messages and signs that have been sent to me. So maybe try what I have offered to you and what I did and see how it works for you. But again, it all takes patience. It takes no expectations, and it just had to let it go and see what comes your way. So that is what I want to leave you with today. Go enjoy the magicalness of this process. As you start getting the numbers, those will be some of your first signs, and know that you're going to get more. It's not just about numbers. And I could talk all day long about all the things that have happened to me and probably write a book just on that. But I'm going to leave you with this today to have your own journey with your signs and messages. And I'll see you in next week's video. Thank you again so much for joining me.